Kamala Harris has been a vocal opponent to Donald Trump's cruel and inhumane immigration policies, but what's interesting is that in an interview with Chris Hayes on MSNBC, when she was asked whether or not she'd support abolishing ICE, she said she did not. So she doesn't support abolishing a government agency that's carrying out some of the most cruelest policies against immigrants that she frequently speaks out against. Let's hear her out.
Should ICE exist?
Should ICE exist? Well, certainly, when we're talking about people who have committed serious and violent crimes, Chris, you know my background. I'm a prosecutor.
Yep.
I believe that there needs to be serious, severe, and swift consequence when people commit serious and violent crimes. One human being kills another human being, a woman is raped, a child is molested, there needs to be serious consequence. And certainly, if they are undocumented, they should be deported if they commit those serious and violent offenses. So yes, ICE has a purpose, ICE has a role, ICE should exist.
The correct answer is no, Kamala. It's just no. This is an agency that's inherently fascistic. They track down people and round up people. This isn't difficult. This is the American Gestapo. So to not advocate for the abolition of ICE, it's difficult to take you seriously when it comes to other things you say about immigration. Now look, I want to take her seriously because I think she's doing a good job at speaking out against Donald Trump's cruel immigration policies. But when you say that you don't support the abolition of ICE, I can't understand your logic. This is a government agency created by Bush in 2003. It's not like it existed since our country was founded. It's a new agency. It's an unnecessary agency. We don't need an American Gestapo to round up immigrants and do these raids. We don't need that. ICE agents were literally going into churches and schools to round up undocumented immigrants until Obama actually directed them to stop doing this. Now, this directive, thankfully, has carried over into Donald Trump's administration. He hasn't gotten rid of it yet, but they're still subverting this by picking up people on their way to school and churches. And there's an in-depth article in Vox that talks about this. I mean, time and again, ICE agents have shown just how power-hungry and sociopathic they really are. And the examples of them rounding up people on their way to church or school pale into comparison with some of these disgusting anecdotes. So, as Monique Judge of The Root reports, a Honduran woman at a detention center in McAllen, Texas, reportedly had her infant daughter, who was breastfeeding and suckling on her nipple at the time, ripped from her arms. When she resisted having her nursing baby snatched from her breast, she said she was handcuffed, according to CNN. The woman is being detained under the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy that calls for anyone caught crossing the border illegally to be referred for federal prosecution. But that's not all, because a Border Patrol agent in Montana literally detained two women. Why? Because they were speaking Spanish. He literally detained them for about a half an hour to 45 minutes and questioned them because they weren't speaking English.
So can you tell us in the video, please, why you asked us for our IDs, please?
Ma'am, the reason I asked you for your ID is because I came in here and I saw that you guys are speaking Spanish, which is very unheard of up here.
Okay.
Just run your name, date of birth.
We have absence. Just because our profile, right?
No.
Racial profile.
It has nothing to do with that.
No?
It's the fact that it has to do with you guys speaking Spanish in the store.
Spanish in the store.
In the state where it's predominantly English speaking.
Okay. Sounds good.
I only stopped you because you were speaking Spanish, but I promise you it totally wasn't racially motivated. I mean, unbelievable. So look, these examples that I'm giving you, they're only a microcosm of a broader issue here. If you have this agency dedicated to rounding up and tracking undocumented immigrants, then you're fostering a situation wherein abuse is possible. And that's what we're seeing. ICE agents are unnecessary. These are not people who care about their country. They're simply going after immigrants, people who are powerless. And they're rounding them up on their way to church and schools. How can you support that type of government agency? I mean, we have some Republicans like Ted Cruz calling for the abolition of the Internal Revenue Service, but yet Democrats like Kamala Harris, who claim to care about Trump's disgusting immigration policies can't even speak out against ICE and call for the abolition of ICE? I mean, this really is, it's very simple. This is the American Gestapo. Advocate for abolishing them.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.